often people say to me, yo, you don't do content about the Bronx anymore? And I always have to be like, every piece of content I do is about the Bronx, because everything about my art, my creativity was cultivated and has to do with the stirring part of the Bronx. So even though it's not super blatant, it is always inside of my art. But I do know what they mean. What they mean is you don't do Bronx-centric, Bronx-based, focused art anymore. And I do a little bit. I still run Co-op City Views blog, scarcely, here and there. And like I said, a lot of my work is Bronx based. I'm constantly traveling in the Bronx. I do a lot of my filming in the Bronx specifically because it's what I love and what I appreciate, but also it's because it's the actual life I live and lead. But to answer their question, no, I don't really do Bronx based focused art. One, because I really started doing it when I was doing it, the man on the streets interviews and a lot of the things like that, because it was a cool opportunity that arose. Being a staple of the Bronx was always important to me, but being like a representative of the Bronx has never really been something I've aimed to do. So it happened in a sense because of that content, but like I said, it wasn't my goal. It wasn't something that I thrived for or cherished for. And the reason why that was is because I don't want to represent a group of people that I may not always agree with. I'm one, just as a rebellious figure in nature, I tend to rebel against every community that I'm a part of. I think it's really important to have individualized voice. And I think when you get a group together, often that voice becomes a homogeny of one idea. And that idea is often not the smartest or most nuanced idea, right? That's why they call it group thought, group mentality. So that's just what happens when you put a group of people together. There's too much noise for nuance, which every piece of the art I do is all about that nuance. That nuance is specifically where I thrive and what I cherish. So I don't like being a representation of the Bronx, because I don't want to be a representation of anything other than myself, my own empire, what I am, because I don't want to have to say things that I don't want to believe or put on for people who I don't agree with.
Switch.